Good morning, everybody, and welcome to PSG of Mercer County. The professional service group of Mercer County is a group that is here for you, anybody that is in a career transition. And in addition to good morning, and it is a beautiful morning today, nice and sunny. Today is National Carbonated Beverage with Caffeine Day. They got a day for everything. So if you like carbonated beverages with caffeine, and there are a lot of cola beverages and some other beverages that have that, I guess you could have that. I kind of wish I had one now. I did not have my coffee. I like Manhattan Special. It's coffee soda. And Alex and I have had lunch a couple times at the Italian restaurant, and I've had the Manhattan Special there, so that's always been enjoyable for me. So if you enjoy a carbonated beverage and one that has a little bit of caffeine, today may be a good day to celebrate. And so PSG, and also, of course, happy Aloha Friday. So yes, I am wearing my Hawaiian shirt again. As it does get a little chilly, it probably will in the next month or two, I actually did find an Aloha hoodie sweatshirt. So I will be able to be more comfortable in the winter. Some of you may remember, if you've come to any of our winter in-person meetings, I used to wear kind of a long sleeve shirt under my Aloha shirt, so I can keep the Aloha shirt on Friday, but still keep a little bit warm. So our group, PSG of Mercer County, we do have a lot of resources for you, anybody in transition. It's not just New Jersey resources, but a lot of the resources are just really helpful to anybody in career transition. We do have our LinkedIn group. We encourage you, if you've not yet joined our LinkedIn group, please do so. Go to the group section in LinkedIn and look for us, PSG of Mercer County. It's not a hidden group, so it's public, but it's a little bit private in that when you click the join button, you are put in pending status. And the reason why is what we do is we first check our attendance records, either kind of the names that are here on the virtual meeting or some of our email marketing lists, to make sure that you, when you ask to join our meeting, have been to one of our meetings at least once. We are trying to keep out people that are just group collectors and name collectors and list collectors, because a lot of times they do that for only their own benefit. But we've seen that people that are of like-minded, the way job seekers are, tend to be a bit more helpful to each other. So you'll join, and about once a week or twice a week, I check the LinkedIn group and accept people. I typically don't reject people right away, but I will send a note back letting them know that they should attend one of our meetings. Use the group. Post some articles that maybe you've read somewhere. You might want to put the link in that. Maybe some job leads. You might have gotten a terrific email from a headhunter or a recruiter that you don't know. It's a great position, just has nothing to do with your career. Copy that from the email, paste it into the LinkedIn group so you can share it with other members. And also what the group does, all groups do, is they give you access to the members through InMail. That's the LinkedIn email system. So typically with the free LinkedIn account, you can only send InMails to people that you are already a first degree connection, but also you can send messages to people who are in your group. So our group has over 1,690 people, almost 1,700. So if you join our group, you can now increase your number of connections by up to 1,700 people. So it's a good resource. We do, of course, have our website as well. Our website is psgofmercercounty.org, psgofmercercounty.org. It is over 120 pages, 120 web pages of content. Among the pages that we do have are our job boards pages. Actually, the link on the top says open jobs. And we have now we do have some job postings there. We didn't used to have job postings there, but we have some. But in the job postings section, we have links to 7 counties. It's Mercer and the 6 border counties to Mercer County, because that's kind of our service area. And in those pages, while we don't have job postings, we have in those 7 counties links to 2,600 company career pages, all companies that do business in some way, shape, or form in those counties. Some of them may have a small office, some of them may have a big office. So use those pages maybe to see if there are other companies around in the area that may be of interest to you. And when you click on the company link, then what happens is it goes to their company career page. The reason why we did that is because each company will be much more effective at keeping up their own career page than for us to kind of keep track and keep up of a mega career page. So it's also a great place to make a company list. You may be interested in working fairly nearby this area, again, Mercer and the 7 border counties. And by the way, if you live overseas, in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, that's a border county, so that's included as well. So we do include Bucks County, Pennsylvania. And so you can make a company list, and then that could be your targeted company list for looking for people that you'd want to connect with, look for jobs specifically, specific industries. So maybe very helpful for you to use our career page, our job boards page. In just a moment, I will be turning the meeting over to Bill, our presenter, and later up, he'll return the control back so we can wrap up. And so what I'll ask that you do, just as a courtesy for everybody, is please keep your microphones on mute when you do not have a need to engage with Bill directly. But when it's time to do some questions and answers, you can unmute yourself and ask your question of Bill. And you can keep your video on or off as comfortable as you are. It's kind of nice if you can. Maybe you're not ready to today, but I think it's kind of nice if you can keep your video image on. It helps with the networking and for people to recognize you. So hopefully soon we will be meeting in person, and it'll be nice when you do meet in person that you know the person because you've seen their face already on our group. So you're certainly welcome to keep your cameras on, but if you've got pillow head right now and you don't want to keep your cameras on, I understand that. For our questions and answers, we're going to be using chat, and we'll use it one of 2 ways. One is use chat and type the word question, followed by your question. And that would be if you don't want to unmute yourself, you just want to ask your question of Bill. And I'll be watching the chat and just looking for questions. Chat is a little icon in the upper right corner. Here's my flashcard. It's kind of got this little circular image with a tab on it. And so you click on that, a window will open, and in that you can type your message. Remember, put the word question because other people, or maybe yourselves, will be putting lots of other introductory information. You're welcome to share anything you'd like, but it allows me to see the question among all the other comments. So type the word question followed by the question, or simply type the word question. And then we'll take I'll find a nice break point, maybe after Bill finishes a bullet point or a slide. And then what we'll do is I'll just interrupt, say, excuse me, Bill, there's a question, and then you can unmute and ask Bill right away. And so if you want to speak with Bill directly, just write the word question. If you prefer that I address the question on your behalf, type the whole question there as well. And just as a courtesy, please write the full question out. I've seen a few people have used abbreviations and shorthand, and sometimes it's a little hard for me to understand just your point. So I want to make sure I get your question and represent it properly. So anyway, I think we are all ready to go. And as you can see, a few more people are coming in, and that's perfectly okay. And so PSG of Mercer County is very pleased to welcome back Bill Pigula. Bill is a member of the PSG of Mercer County Executive Committee. He manages the content on the PSG website job boards pages, the pages that I just met. And he's an instructor for our group when we were meeting in person and we had our monthly presentations. Bill is also volunteers at the Trenton Area Soup Kitchen, where he's a member of the Development Committee. In his career, Bill has achieved success as a pre-sale consultant at the Teradata Corporation with expertise in justifying and implementing solutions for clients with data warehousing and business intelligence needs. Before joining Teradata, Bill was the marketing project manager on the IBM Global Risk Management Development Initiative at IBM. He also managed a diverse group of client-facing systems engineers in New York City and taught classes at the IBM Finance Industry Center. Bill is the founder of Fisher Visualizations, LLC, a management consulting firm that extracts valuable business insights from data and turns these insights into charts and infographics that improve business results. PSG is always pleased to welcome our very own Bill Pigula.
Thanks, David. That's a great introduction. I appreciate the kind words. And hello, everybody. It's the I was really enjoying yesterday when it was 65 degrees and able to go out for a walk. But we here in New Jersey, we've had a little bit of a temperature drop since then. But so we're inside and we're going to have a good hour or so together. And feel free to ask your questions. All right, here we are. The title of the presentation is Develop Your Marketing Plan. And I've done this before. I've enhanced it. Every time I do, I add a little bit more to it and subtract some things. So hopefully there'll be enough of a change if you've been to one of my presentations. The outline is really, let's talk about the job loss, the job market, and then talk about marketing plans themselves. I want to lay out why we have one and how do we create it and how do we use it. And there are some COVID considerations on some of the charts that you will see. I used a red or orange font for those. So that'll be something to look for. And I am now figuring out how to advance my slides.
Just click on the slide deck with your mouse.
Okay, that doesn't seem to be working. Oh, there we go. Okay. First of all, where are you now? That's job search and marketing plan is a lot about knowing yourself and knowing where you are in the process. I like to relate the job loss to something that's very significant to most people. The grief cycle that you see on the screen is often applied to if you have a significant other who passes away, and the stages that that you might go through in coping with that grief. Well, a job loss is an important part of most people's. A job is an important part of most people's lives, and so the grief cycle also applies. And you go through the stages of denial. This can't be happening to me. Anger. You're mad at the company. Doing some bargaining, trying to figure it out, and talking to people, and very uncertain time. And ultimately that turns into more of an overwhelming state of depression where, what am I going to do? How am I going to get out of this? And finally into an acceptance where you are should make a choice really to go forward. I know that I have gone through this, and I got to that depression stage, and I wouldn't say it was, it was the depths of depression that you read about, but it certainly was, it made me take a step towards acceptance and towards saying, well, what am I going to do now? And try to address that. So just be aware, if you've just lost your job, give yourself time to get through that transition and get yourself to a point when you're really ready to talk to other people or talk to future employers. As you allow that time, you can do some things. You can assess your financial position and take a look at what resources you have to help you get through that financially. The one thing also might be savings on that list. That's really up to you to assess. There's help out there to do all of that. And then develop the mindset for the new beginning. And you got to start that somewhere. And what I find useful is to start it by making lists and make those lists positive. About you and your strengths? Think about your accomplishments. What did you do in your previous roles? Not just your last job, but go back and what did you do? And you could actually start to build what other job consultants will tell you are either SARs or CARs or situations that you've addressed and what was the result of what you did. So that inventory is important and it's part of your story. So that's a good time to start that in the early stages. And what do your friends, coworkers, and family say about you? That can be very uplifting and help you with your positive attitude. To ask, say, someone who you used to go to football games with, just ask them up front, I'd like to get your opinion on me and what my strengths are. Don't be afraid to do that. They want to help you. And so that's kind of a theme throughout a job search. People do want to help. And your friends and family certainly are some of those resources. Through this presentation, you may see a note at the bottom of a slide. I found that, say, the last 6 months at PSG, those YouTube videos that David was talking about contain some very valuable information. And I went back through my notes as part of this and tried to single out a couple of them that were really helpful. The one, Assessing Your Career at Any Age, which was done in October by Ed Samuel, was a really good one, I thought. And that might be a worthwhile use of an hour to listen to that again. Again, it's on the YouTube page of the PSG website. Now, to job hunting. There are some truths to it that I've adapted from a book called What Color Is Your Parachute with my own spin. Job hunting is always mysterious. It's an art, not a science. There's no real right way that's always going to work to get a job, and there's no wrong way, even though there are some ways that are more effective than others. It's hard work, and it takes some really hard thinking. Some of us were so busy in our jobs, we kind of got out of practice of being introspective. So that's where the hard thinking comes in about you, about what you want. And you could do all of that, and it's still going to be dependent on luck. So you allow for uncertainty, you allow for the ball to bounce the wrong way. But kind of look at it as shrug your shoulders and move on. The last point is something I can relate to from my experience with the game of golf. Being self-taught, I was really bad, and taking some lessons gave me some techniques that would improve the probability that I might hit the golf ball straight. Now, I'm still really bad, but I enjoy the game more. The practice helps and technique helps. So pay attention to sessions like that PSG offers and other job search groups, as well as your reading, to always be looking to improve your technique. Most of us, including me, this is how I started in the working world. The job is a given, and it's up to me to fit myself to it. You can do that any number of ways, but I think when we were, and I'm going to speak as somebody over 50, when we were out there, the jobs were pretty well defined for the most part. And so you knew what you were selling to knock on a door and say, hey, I can work in your machine shop when I was in college, and I was hired for a nice summer job. Or I can program a computer, please, and I got jobs that way. The thing about it is there are some new wrinkles. First of all, there are many, at most levels, there are many more people applying than there are jobs. That's just a fact of life. So targeting companies is really important to understand where you might really want to work. The Federal and State Employment Office has got COVID resources as well as job resources, and they're opening up again. So I would encourage you to take a look at some of the directories sponsored by the government. Join a job search support group or more than one. Not only is it useful tips, it's also a great place to get out there and get social again. I know that being locked up in my home for a year for COVID was, I missed that interaction with people in the Friday morning PSG meeting. So get involved, get out there, and that'll help your overall mental attitude. As you get down on the list, things get a little bit more dicey as far as being effective, and it becomes kind of a shotgun approach of I'm going to answer newspaper ads, or I'm going, if you can find them, or I'm gonna email my resume, or I'm gonna respond to job postings on the internet. Now, the reason I have that the 3 red asterisks next to that is that the internet is important, and the job postings on the internet are important, and they've become more important. But just blindly responding to them, you could spend your whole week answering ads. Each one of them takes 2 hours, and at the end, you either get a few rejections, or more likely, you get no responses. So I don't know that that's the best way to go. So let's go. So because of that dynamic and the dynamics on that chart, I'm going to propose that a marketing plan is something that every job seeker ought to have. It starts out by being focused on the job seeker. What do you want and what do you need? And it's a tool to help others, so others can help you with your search. And finally, it can shift your search. So what I can get, that's that slide back in the olden days, to fit the job, to what role do I really want? And put your efforts into getting the latter, getting the role that I really want. This picture is, you're going to see the theme of this go throughout this presentation, but this is just a little bit of an aside to how it relates back to my world, back when I was doing some of the jobs that David talked about. One of them was a marketing project manager, and we were worried about selling products. So how did we do that? We had a marketing plan in green. And the first part of that component of it was the brand itself and its definition, what it meant to the customer, what the value was, and then to sell that brand, we needed to define a target market for it, to make it something a lot of people can relate to. Think about the cereal Wheaties. The brand itself, of course, is the breakfast of champions, right? It is a convenient. It's got a bright orange box and a number of other brand attributes aimed at a target market. Well, who might the target market be for the breakfast of champions? Well, you think, well, maybe what are champions but Olympic athletes or professional athletes or college athletes? That's where the marketing is, and where that shows off is in the communications channels. The ads for Wheaties, any brochures and testimonials. Why do you think LeBron James is on the outside of the box for Wheaties? That's an implied testimonial that he thinks it's a good product. The other thing is other things about communications channels in the product world are a little bit more hidden. The shelf position. There's a lot of people there's a lot of companies that make cereal, and they're all jockeying to where that cereal will be placed on the supermarket shelf. Will it be at eye level? Will it be at your ankles? And guess what? Those companies pay supermarket chains to position their products where they want them. And of course, TV ads, that's all part of the marketing plan, and it all comes together there. And I imagine in the company that sells General Foods or General Mills, there is a marketing manager that has a nice 4-inch document that's called the marketing plan, and he or she is dealing with that. So the same thought process goes for the job seeker. And we're going to take apart each one of these boxes. But the personal brand, the brand becomes your personal brand. The target market becomes the target companies that you are going to go after. And the communications channels becomes the channels. And there's a list of some of them. So that's where we're going to go. And now let's drill into the marketing plan first and see where it goes. What is a marketing plan? It's a tool for your job search, as I've already said. It helps you focus on what you offer, because really you're selling yourself. It's the base for a consistent message. As a theme, I've heard the word consistent probably more than any other word in the PSG presentation of the last year. The market and the target companies. The marketing plan documents how you will communicate your availability and your value to potential employers. That's what it's all about, and as we see as we go through. And you might say, if you haven't searched for a job for a while, you might say, but I have a resume. Here's the difference. The resume looks at your past, and there are some attributes for it there underneath the word past. And the marketing plan looks to the future. It is where you want to go. So in this competitive world where there are hundreds of job applications for every position, it's the future. The points that are listed here are really important for you to know yourself. So, in your brand, start to think about the answers to these questions. And I put in parentheses, snapshots are okay. You're not trying to write the great American novel here, at least in the beginning. So whether you use a piece of paper and you divide it into 8 sections and you start to write your notes, however you work to brainstorm is okay, because that's what this is brainstorming. If you write it on, well, nobody goes to bars anymore, but if you write them on bar napkins, that would work too. But the things you should be thinking about is, what is success? Is it a dollar amount? Is it time with your family? Who knows what it is, but you have your own definition. What puts you in the zone? It's what kind of work do you do that actually you lose track of time? If you can identify that is something that you might want to do that for a living, if it's not not on the surface. What do you do best, and what expertise do other people recognize? That's why the conversations with others are important. It's very easy if you're sitting in your own room to think about what you think about what your expertise is. But if you were to ask your ex-coworkers what your expertise was, you might get a totally different answer, or at least get something that you haven't really thought about. Is there an industry or field that really excites you? Of course, the elephant in the room is financial requirements. And what about corporate culture? What kind of manager do you need? Those are all important questions. And there are some things, I remember when I was having grown up in IBM and in NCR and Teradata, that's a big company corporate culture. Would I flourish in a company with 20 people? Those are the kinds of questions, or vice versa. And the first arrow there is something that I really stumbled on. I want to share that with you. Just because you have a job title, it does not mean that that job title is generally accepted in the industry. In my case, I had a job title called Solution Architect, and that was on my business card. And when I went to look for jobs, that I kept getting interviews with companies that wanted me to install and put together computer solutions and get down into the weeds and actually configure them and make them work. However, that was not what my job was. My job was to work with the sales force, to interface with the customer executives about how this technology was going to help them, and talk to the customer's technical people about how it would impact their jobs and their lives. That's very different from the accepted term of a solution architect. It actually was a pre-sale engineer is the real title. The way I found that is in a database that's listed with that resource. It's called ONET briefly. That is a really useful tool that has every job description of every position and it's generally accepted title. You don't have to use the same name that was on your business card in your LinkedIn or on your resume or whatever. Go with generally accepted. It'll just break down some barriers for you. Can you find people that are doing this job today? Minimally, you could look up that title on LinkedIn and see other people and how did they describe it and what were their accomplishments. You can learn something from these examples, and it's something that's a resource that's available to all. Think about the other factors besides work-related, in addition to work-related. Where do you want to commute? How about being remote and working remote? Some people now that they've worked remote, they want to stay remote. Other people can't wait to get back to the office. Where do you fit? Financially, what's your minimum compensation requirements? Willingness to relocate, that still comes up, and it's good to know that ahead of time. The family considerations, we're all in positions where we're responsible for other people. So whether it's a child or an elderly parent or somebody in between, what are those things? And anything else you can think of that impacts you and your attitude and your ability to do a job. So with all of this thinking, now it's time to start drilling down and getting into the weeds with the brand. But before that, this is just a little reminder of what we've gone through. It emphasizes the personal strengths, the marketing plan does. It identifies the target companies, and it communicates your strengths to those target companies. The idea is to find a business need at one of the target companies that is in your sweet spot in what you want to do. And also to give you the confidence that you can do it and you're the best person, so that you can put your best foot forward in going after that job you want. First thing we'll talk about is the personal brand. It's what are you known for? And I have to segment what are you known for into, I'll call them hard and soft. People use that for skills. I'll put it down as brand characteristics. What kind of problems do you solve? What knowledge do you have? What skills do you have? And what experience do you have, all leading to your past accomplishments? Those are your hard qualifications. And you can really point to those. You can measure them. And I'd encourage you to measure them. If you solved a problem that saved $500,000 for your company, that is a really good fact. And that would be something you want to highlight. If you can quantify those skills as well. If you in the past have been I'll pick something, Python programmer, don't hide that. I mean, people want that sort of skill if that's what you want to keep doing. The other thing with skills is you can also build skills. And what skills have you built lately? So that's, have you taken a course in Python? Have you taken a course in Tableau or some other tool? Have you learned to use Microsoft Visio? Whatever it is, those are all things that are part of your brand. The soft skills, though, also are very important, and they really are the people skills. First impression, of course, is something that we all know, and we've been told 1,000 times that you can never undo the first impression. So some of these other things go along with that. If your first impression shows enthusiasm and motivation, that's great. Physically, if you're well groomed and neatly dressed and all of that, that's all first impression stuff. One of the things that doesn't always show up is the knowledge of the target company, and we'll get to that a little bit later, but people don't want you to go in cold and talk to them. They want you to know something about their company, and you show that you've done your homework, even to the point of being able to identify how you can help that company. Another thing, and this is these last two really, I think these are differentiators for the 50 plus, in my opinion. It's your thoughtfulness, it's your calmness. That was one of the things I discovered when I talked to my peers in the early part of my job description. People told me that I stayed calm in the face of a tough situation. I kind of calmed everybody else down. And so if you can express that to a future employer, that can only be good. There are plenty of people running around with their hair on fire, so it's nice to be not one of those people. And your ability to learn and adapt. I mean, who doesn't know that the world is changing so fast? And if you get thrown by it, that's not a good thing. But if you can show through some of the stuff you've done at your previous work, as well as during your job search, to learn and adapt, that's only for the good. That's all part of your brand. That's what you are marketing. But then you have to ask the questions. Well, what is your role that you're marketing, or what is the product or service that you offer? And what's the value of that? What do you bring to the table that's going to help the employer? And separately, what makes you stand out from the other candidates? Again, we're back to the hundreds of applications for each role. What makes you different to be selective? Alex Freund has got a great chart that unfortunately I don't have, but it's a picture of a herd of zebras, and one of them is of a different color. And which one stands out. I think that's a great visual. And then what unique qualities express your values? Your values are important in all of this, and so it's important to understand them as well in your thoughts, and then how does that relate to your values? Little homework exercise. In a quiet time, sit down, and you don't have to do it all at once, but sit down and write the answer to each one of these questions. Write a little paragraph or a big paragraph. It's really up to you, and put it aside and do it for each of the questions, and then go back. When you go back to it, I would then go to edit it, and I like to edit with the process of elimination. I think this is a cool tool that I'm going to tell you about. Take that paragraph and then start to scratch off the word. Say it's 80 words. You pick a number. Start to scratch off the words that are less important, and keep going and keep going and keep going. And what you have left is the core. And take that core and build a statement around that. So that's just a way to approach it. You have your own. You're all professionals. You have your own way to approach it, but that's what I like to do. Here's a tool that can help you, and I'm going to start in the white boxes on the bottom. These are the external. This is called a SWOT analysis. If you've ever worked with a consulting firm, you'll see these. You may have seen these. The SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And I applied that to the job search. There are things beyond your control. In the white box, they're either external, or they're probably external, definitely external. There are opportunities. If you're in a field or you want to get to a field that's growing, that's a great opportunity. If you find some complex skill requirements that your skills fit, wow, that'd be terrific. If you know that industry and you understand the efficiencies of the industry and how to get around them, that is terrific also. I think one of the things that we saw in the past was the success of the company SAP was around the efficiencies and integrating all the various business processes. The final one is a skill shortage. Okay, if you're a COBOL programmer, and I think this is still true, there is a niche for people that know and are fluent in COBOL to help companies maintain their old systems or convert them. So that offers another opportunity. Now, you found some opportunities. What are the threats? You've gotten a little closer. You've gotten people interested. Well, some of the threats I've seen have been internal people. You don't know this, it's out of your control, but there may be an internal candidate who they've been grooming for years. One of the mysterious things that I talked about very early is that there are things that are mysterious. This is one of them. Sometimes a company has to put the job requirement out to the public before it can bring somebody internal in. So you may just be fodder for that, and I'm sorry to say that happens. Other candidates are threats. They may have a better differentiation than you do, or the employer may perceive that they are better fit. I mean, that's the way the ball bounces. Low cost orientation is some companies think they look at the expense side of their bottom line a lot, and they don't want to spend the money on the premium product. The Yugo is fine for them. So if that's the way they are, hopefully you find that out early and you don't go after them, but that can hit you. Too busy management is it's very common, and it's even more common these days, with people coping not only with the business world, but coping with COVID. Managers are stretched thin. And so they may take time, so much time to get back to you that it shows up as a threat, or it shows up, or they forget, or who knows what. But I guess the only thing I take away from that is if they're too busy during the hiring process, they may be too busy during the job. And finally, is suitability expectations. That's kind of tough to talk about a little bit, but some age is a good discriminator sometimes, that someone with an up-and-coming tech firm may need some extra convincing before they'll hire somebody who's 60 plus. That's just the way it is. And you don't know what those expectations are. So that's a threat that might happen. Now I'm going to move up to the blue area of the strengths. You've got expertise, skills, experience. You've got a can-do attitude, and you're self-sufficient. Helps that busy manager. You've shown that you've done the preparation, and you've got the desire. Those are all things you can affect, and the more of that stuff you can do and project, the better off you're going to be. That's one of those things the technique things that's going to really help you. The key word is positive. Weaknesses you can also work on. You can put some attention to them and either nullify them or turn them into strengths. If you may look at the world, you may need to see that, in my case, my RPG2 programming skill from the IBM System 34 is really not going to get me anywhere. But a skill update, if I was a programmer, might certainly help. Certifications are always can give you a positive impression if you put the work in to get them. Something, if without it, it's a weakness. With it, it helps. Lack of confidence and poor me attitude, those are kind of two peas in the same pod. That it's beyond the scope of this presentation, but it goes back to that grief curve and taking charge and doing some things that build your confidence, and looking at your past and taking some positive attitude from that and what you've done. Lack of differentiation is a different flavor in that, for example, I'm a staff accountant. Well, there's a staff accounting position and 200 staff accountants have applied. You're back to the zebra picture. What do you do as that staff accountant that makes you stand out? Again, thinking about that, putting a lot of time and thought into your accomplishments is really going to help. So that's how the SWOT analysis works. There's a different one for everybody, but it's a tool you can use. We talked about competing with other candidates, and I call that brand X, because you're the premium. You are compared to the generic product or the generic candidate. Your background, your skills, and your track record are all things that you have with you. Your age is what it is. You can't hide it, so I wouldn't try. And you've got some perceptions to overcome. Age, again, the perception that being older is inflexible is another one. There's a lot of them. We could spend the whole day coming up with them. But the real question is, how do you solve the employer's business problem? You have to identify it or talk in your interviews and talking, find out the business problem, and then how can you apply all of this stuff to solve it? And that sets you apart from brand X. These are things that could differentiate you, How does what you bring address the business needs, not just in general, but for that company? Does your experience let you anticipate problems and solve them? Do you help the employer save money and headaches just by being there? Again, that's kind of an expertise thing as well as skills. Are you reliable? Do you do what you say you're going to do? And that certainly is something that people are looking for. That is also a hit the ground running thing where you are going to show up for work. I read more and more about candidates ghosting employers, and maybe it's more at the lower levels, but they accept the job and then they don't show up. Boy, there's an opportunity. How are you at project management and completing your projects? Can you show that or in your accomplishments? And can you adapt? Of course, we know that's going to be bigger as we go. So that's really important. And now this is a statement of your brand and what you're trying to get from the employer in a reaction. You're trying to build credibility. What you hope that the employer is thinking is, this person can help me. You're trying to encourage curiosity. You're trying to turn that half-an-hour interview into a 2-hour discussion by encouraging their curiosity. Tell me more about this. You're excited and get them excited. And communicate likability. This person can fit in. That's more of a cultural question. If the that's really back to those soft skills as well. But the employer wants to come away thinking that, hey, yeah, that person will work really well. Now there are two videos that are mentioned here at the bottom that I encourage you to look at. That'll help. When you get the slides, you can check them out. So that's it for the brand. I spent the most time there because that is the thing that is most in your control, and that is the most that has the most influence on the success of your job search. Now we're going to go on to target companies. David, are there any questions?
So there are no questions in chat, but folks, as a reminder, this is an opportunity to ask Bill questions. You could just type your question in chat with the word question in front of it, excuse me, or just type the word question and we will unmute. There's been a lot of information here. If you want any additional information or clarity, Bill will be happy to do so.
Okay. Well, now that I've caught my breath, we'll move on to target companies. From working in sales, and this is part of job searching is sales. I took a look at a technique we used to do, and I saw this chart. I liked it, so I put it in. It's a personal opportunity funnel, and through your contacts and your identifying companies, what you're trying to do is start out with a good sized list of companies that you might want to work for. Then start to go down and determine their fit. As you narrow it down, you try to build some relationships or understand some relationships that you already have with those companies and deepen a few of those relationships having to do with job opportunities and getting into the hiring process. I think the point of the chart is it really is a process of elimination where you don't really want to, if you identify 20 companies to start, you don't want to do this with all 20. You really want to knock a few out and keep knocking them out until you get down to the company you want to work for, and there may be several of those. How to find them? You can look for companies. Again, LinkedIn comes up. You can type in a search companies in the industry you're looking for, and you will see lists of companies that are posting on LinkedIn. You can also go to the PSG of Mercer County website. Look at the open jobs tab, for instance. Or you can also go to if you're in one of the 6 border counties and you want to stay there, you can also go to job boards page and see lists of different companies. And I'll bet you that in your industry, you will find companies that you don't know exist until then, and you can look into those. Indeed.com, it has one of the search criteria is immediately hiring, and you can get lists off of that. Now, a lot of those depends on the search criteria you put in, but a lot of those jobs are entry level, or they may be retail oriented, so be warned about that. There are also on the New Jersey state employment job board or website, there are job boards there too, one for COVID and one for general, where employers have posted jobs. So there's a lot of places to look. It seems like the help wanted section of newspapers is really shrunk, but there are other places where you can see people who are advertising with jobs. If the next step is to research, find out more about these companies. Who works there? LinkedIn is good with that. Some of your contacts may already be there. One of the things I learned in one of the past weeks is on LinkedIn, and we'll talk about LinkedIn later, but one of the criteria is following a firm that you're interested in. Just as if you would follow a person, you might follow Bill Gates or I don't know who on LinkedIn or in Facebook or something. You can follow companies. And that actually is a search criterion that a recruiter could use to say, who is interested in my company? And so I would encourage you to follow companies. Plus, you'll get any news that they get. You can look at the internet, do Google searches. You can look at Glassdoor, and take what Glassdoor says with a grain of salt. But you can also check your library out or online for articles about those. And finally, volunteering. Through volunteering, you build your network. And so you may even meet somebody who works at that company, or knows somebody who works at that company. So finding out about the companies is important. And in the course of that, you want to identify a couple of people for informational interviews at that company. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. One of the things that some job seekers ignore is time management, and that some of that time management can show up in this whole target companies area. The way out of it is I talked about it before. One of the traps is to try to make 20 applications a week unsolicited, and that'll just eat up your time. Taking a more defined targeting approach lets you look for showstoppers. Wow, this looks like a great job, but it's in Pittsburgh, and I don't want to move to Pittsburgh. Eliminate it. I mean, no matter how, unless you're willing to make the sacrifice of relocating, it's not worth spending a lot of time on. So that's where the funnel idea comes in, and it's okay to eliminate. You can always go back if you need to.
Excuse me, Bill.
Now we'll talk about informational interviews.
Excuse me, Bill.
Yes, David.
Yeah, there are a couple of questions.
Okay.
So one is from Paul. Where did you get the personal opportunity funnel?
Paul, I've been using that for years, and I need to dig into where I got it. So I apologize, I don't have the answer to that question.
And the only reason why I'm asking is you had the trademark next to it, and I'm curious where the trademark is coming from. So if we use it elsewhere, we have permission.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll be honest, I wouldn't advise that until I can figure it out.
Okay, thank you. And Jim has a question. What are some key ways we can differentiate ourselves from brand X and make us stand out from the competition? What are key traits we should focus on to make us seem different?
Well, I would look at it from two angles. One of them would be from a skills perspective, skills and experience perspective, and drilling down into situations where you've actually used those skills for the benefit of your employer, and having that on the tip of your tongue, so that if you tie that in with your target company research, so you can bring up a relevant skill. These are sometimes called SARs or CARs. So that's part of your story. The second part of it is positive attitude and I call it a conversational attitude, where yes, they are interviewing you, but you're also interviewing them. And rather than having it being a Q&A where they're answering all the questions, you have questions for them, and they're intelligent questions. Get them talking about yourself. So it's about rapport and knowledgeable interest to make it a two-way conversation. That benefits them because they get to see more of you and they get to see your soft skills, and that's a differentiator. It also helps you learn about them and about their company, and could help you in your choice. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, if you have a follow-up, Jim, you're welcome to unmute.
That was perfect. Thank you, Bill. That's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Okay.
Let's move on.
All right. Okay, we talked about following the firms and the showstoppers. Informational interviews are something that you initiate, that you find a person at the company you want to go to talk, hopefully in a role that's similar to the role you want, to help you screen the job before you take it, and screen the place of work before you want to seek employment there. And ideally, like I said, it's people doing the work. This is one of those areas where you want it to be precise. If you find someone or someone else, this is where networking comes in also. Someone in your network may know someone, say, who's a staff accountant at XYZ company, who could introduce you. And as part of the follow-up to that introduction, you could ask them for a 20, if they would spend 20 minutes with you, or 30 minutes, whatever you think. You get a yes to that, and tell them you're not looking for a job, but you would like to ask them some questions about the company. You have to deliver on that, meaning you have to prepare 8 to 10 questions to cover in that 30 minutes or 20 minutes, and go through them in the course of the 20 minutes. This is not as much rapport building as it is getting those questions answered. The completion is when all the questions are addressed, or when the time period expires. You've set the time, let's say you set it at 20 minutes. That you need a clock or a watch for that, because at the end of it, when 20 minutes comes you want to say to the person you're talking with, oh, we set aside 20 minutes for this, and I want to be respectful of your time. So if you need to leave, that's okay. I understand. I know you're busy. And they will most probably say, oh, no, let's keep talking. This is good. If not, you thank them, and it's still good because you've got some questions. But anyway, if you get all the questions done in 15 minutes, be honest. Sir or ma'am, I finished all my questions, and we still have 5 minutes left, and I can give those back to you. If you've got, I know you're busy, and they may say, no, let's keep talking. Or they may say, well, thanks a lot. But in either case, it's a positive response. When those questions are answered, never follow this rule. Never ask for a job. And that happened to me where I was in one of these exact situations, and it sounded like a perfect fit. And at the end, I said, I could really fit that role, and how would I go about that? And immediately it closed down. The person I was talking with ended the interview, and that was that. Because I violated the expectation I set. So never ask for a job in an informational interview. One thing you can ask is one of your questions: who do you know that I might be able to talk with in this field or at this company that could help me? And getting more contacts, building your network is certainly fair game. So that's the informational interview. Now, any other questions, David, before we move to channels?
Nothing in the chat right now.
Okay. All right, so now we'll talk about channels. Channels are the way to increase your personal visibility. Who might want to learn about you? Your networking contacts, like the person you were just having the informational interview with, might want to look you up on LinkedIn or on Google. And people at the target companies. More and more people are using the channels that you put your stuff out in to learn about you. And the thing at the bottom there is also, if you're in a profession that has a journal or something, where would you look to find information about a person? And take advantage of your own experience in that. The site of first resort these days, however, is LinkedIn. Not only by other networkers, which you've seen, but by recruiters, which you may have seen, and by hiring managers. People are going to look at your LinkedIn profile. There have been sessions on PSG that have talked about how to make your profile more effective. You have to look at LinkedIn like an applicant tracking system. People are going to search it looking for certain characteristics, and it's a lot like Google. The best match rises to the top. So how do you rise to the top? First of all, if you're on Google, how many of you page down to page 7 when you're looking for, restaurants? Not many. So you want to be on the first page if you can. How do you get there? You complete your profile, and there is a setting or a description in the Google profile that says how good is it? And in order to be really good, you have to have a current photo, and I would encourage it to be current and professional, and a current job site where your last job is current or does not have an end date, and that's how LinkedIn makes it current. Now, if you were let go 3 months ago and you're unemployed, you may want to put in that you're consulting or some other development role for yourself. So that is your current job, but you need that. Some recruiters don't want to talk to somebody who doesn't have a current job. That's the filter they use. You want to follow target companies. We talked about that. You want to contribute to LinkedIn often. That means liking other people's posts. David talked about the PSG LinkedIn group as a vehicle for that. Contributions, either there or to the big LinkedIn, that all counts for you. Or commenting on other people's posts also counts for you. So get on LinkedIn and be active. Reply to in-mail messages. If a recruiter sends you something and it's not interesting, reply back and just say thanks but no thanks. But even so, that helps your score within LinkedIn's algorithm for making you more saleable. The other thing is to give recommendations. If you work with other people and you can put in a good word for them in the recommendation section of LinkedIn, do it. Likewise, if there are some people who, like in my case, if there was a manager who really liked what I did, I would actually write. I would ask if that person would recommend me on LinkedIn, and I would offer to write a draft of what that recommendation might be for their editing before they did it. You know, everything above board, but it would be in their words. But getting those recommendations and having them is important to not only help Google or LinkedIn's algorithm, but the potential hiring manager might be looking at those. So do it.
Excuse me, Bill.
One thing that is I have noticed recently, and it may have been a long time, but I just found out about it, is the open to work feature.
Bill?
Now,
excuse me?
At the bottom, I say there's a controversy to it, but what the open to work feature does is it takes this donut here that says open to work with the green on half of it, and it puts it around your picture. And behind that are some criteria that says, yes, I'm open to work. I'm open to do either part-time or full-time and contract, whatever. You can see that. The way you get it is to, first of all, I would look at the bottom arrow. There's information here. It's kind of it's an eye chart, but if you click on the blue letters here, it tells you about the open to work feature without committing to anything. If you click on this, it takes you to some menu screens that lets you choose characteristics of the work you're trying to find. So, and it also puts this open to work half circle on your picture. And it's a criteria that recruiters can see. And some of them, you have to remember, LinkedIn is an applicant tracking system, and the LinkedIn that recruiters use is different than the one you have. And they can put in search criteria like you wouldn't believe. One of them is open to work. So the question is, the controversy is this an alert to recruiters in a good way that this person is available, or is it a sign of desperation? And I don't have the answer to that. It's your call. But if you use the open to work feature, you'll see that, and you'll be getting more. I did it for just to get this, just to try it and see what it was like. I put it up there, and with that day, I got a few hits from recruiters. I took it down. It wasn't even up for an hour, and I did get some more activity on LinkedIn. So the reason I took it down is I am doing a little bit of restructuring in my thought process for my business. So I didn't want too much exposure until I get that done. In any case, this is something that would show up on a recruiter search if you choose to let it.
Excuse me, Bill, this question.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So Pat has a question. What do you think of having a key phrase that distinguishes your skills from brand X? For example, I have the skill of being able to herd cats.
Pat, that's a real personal question. I can give you a personal response. I think that would get people's attention. It depends on where you put it. This one thing I didn't say, but in this paragraph about you that's underneath your name, the way LinkedIn works is phrases or keywords that are in the beginning of that paragraph rise to the top, help in the searches, because sometimes people don't read that whole paragraph. I would put it in quotes, first of all, if you're going to use it. I wouldn't make it the first thing. I think to me, it doesn't solve a business problem. But what it does do is get attention. So I would bury it in here somewhere. But that's my personal take. Maybe other people in the chat have some other ideas on it. I hope that helped.
Thank you.
Okay, personal visibility. The channels here are some of the things you can do. You've got a resume, probably. You still need it. If you apply for a job, the applicant tracking system is going to ask you for a resume, or a resume in lieu of filling in 100 different boxes about all your past jobs. So you want to have that. A differentiator would be to have a cover letter if you're applying for a job. People don't do that anymore. So if you do, that sets you apart, especially a tailored cover letter that goes towards the job that you are going for, and maybe a sentence about how you fit. Same thing with a resume. You don't have one resume, you have a resume master that you tailor to the particular opportunity. Gary Landy has a presentation on the YouTube video that talks about that. The internet is also a channel for you, including LinkedIn, but you can expand your online presence. A simple way to do it is contribute to other people's blogs and professional forums. For example, I belong to the Tableau user group, and I can key in some comments on other people's stuff in those groups. You can join Twitter and link or follow various influencers in Twitter, maybe tweet a few times. You can post videos, that's a good way to make yourself an expert. If you can have a video of yourself talking about a specific product, that'd be great. You can start your own blog, which people have done, and it shows your skill, shows your expertise. More activity is rewarded. That's the key message there. The channel of verbal and video, you still have to tell your story. Used to be you would be called in for an interview, or you might have a phone interview screening. Now, those things might be verbal on the phone. They might be a Zoom call. It might be a Zoom call with 5 panelists. It might be a video itself. Practice that. Tell your story. And there are videos out there that instruct how to set up a video. It's more work. It's not trivial to set up a good video site, but that's another channel you can use if you choose to do it. Business cards are back to the basics. I would have business cards. I would make them professional. The title would be what you want to do as opposed to what you used to do. And again, go back to that generally accepted verbiage. But that's your advertising, and you may be in a weird place or in a grocery store or who knows where. And even if you're not in a networking meeting, you can give your business card to somebody. My personal approach is to keep the back, not make them glossy, make them matte, and keep the back blank. That gives the person you're giving it to a little piece of paper to write something on, like I met Bill in the grocery store. So little tiny tip there. Before we go in the home stretch, David, anything?
There are no questions, no new questions right now.
Okay. All right, closing the deal. Ultimately, the employer is the buyer. Why do they want to buy what you have to sell? On their mind, a lot of what we talked about has tried to put you in a position to answer that question. The question on the employer's mind still has kind of stayed the same. Can you do the job? Will you do the job? And will you fit in? Back to culture. What makes you stand out? And can they afford you? The whole concept of affordability is, again, that's bigger than this topic, but that's a question on the employer's mind. And the last job I had, I actually diffused it right up front. I was in an interview with the president of the company, and I just said, hey, look, I understand that I come from a corporate world, and you're a small company, and I'm willing to work with the parameters, and that diffused it. So just say that's one of the questions that's in the back of everybody's mind. This is a little bit different theme than in the beginning, is that you are the given, and find the work that fits you. That's what this is all about with the marketing plan. The hard part is the homework. You've got to figure out yourself, and I can't make that any easier for you. And that's the top three things there are something that you have to do. Finding the bridge person is challenging, can be challenging, and people want to help. That's the advice I give you. So if you see that someone else knows somebody at this XYZ company, see if they can help you. Have a conversation going. It's all about people, and unless you're at the very entry level, it's not going to be just submit your resume and you're done. See what else is here. The last two things are important. It's more about, it's back to the soft skills. The power of the thank you is still there. The people that you have informational interviews with, you'll differentiate yourself if you send them an email thank you or send them a handwritten thank you. That's especially true the higher up the ladder you go. They may want to help you. If you interview with the CEO of a company that just as informational purposes, and you write them a written thank you, that will differentiate yourself to the point where he or she may turn around and introduce you to somebody else. Maintain your contacts. It never hurts to check back with people. 6-8 weeks go by. How you doing? I enjoyed working with you on that informational interview. Did you ever solve the problem that came up in the, whatever you talk about, just keeping your network going is important. After you get your job, keeping your network going is important. So I encourage you to do that. How do you use the marketing plan? This is more about what we've done. The big word is consistency. And with the plan, you have the touchstone to go in and see what you're all about and go back and revisit it every now and then. And it's never completely done. The You will learn things as you're talking to people that I would encourage you to go back and revise your plan. You might not change the direction, but you may add an accomplishment that you didn't think was one, or something like that. It's a tool for your network, and this is an optional step, but I found it to be very effective, is to take the marketing plan and turn it into a brief one-pager that you can give to somebody like a brochure or a handout. And I gave them out. I would do that, and I would have the brief version, and if I went on an informational interview or a regular interview, I would pass that along to say, this is all about me, and it might stimulate you to help me. So you can use it that way. If you need a structure, and I know I do, we have a marketing plan template on the PSG website, and here are the directions about how to get it. And then it's a Word document. You replace your words, you replace the blue words with your words, and it's kind of fill in the blank, but you'll see you have to kind of get personal with it. You can also add sections. It's just a document. It's yours. Nobody else sees it. So if you want to add, if you're the kind of person that is driven by setting goals and meeting them, do it. You could do it there. There's other ways to expand and customize this, but it's available for download. Job hunting in 2021. It's a lot of these things are the same we talked about. It's still mysterious. These are the same things we talk about like before, except it repeats itself over and over again. And if I've seen anything in the last 15 years, it's the job market is much more fluid. Employers are more geared towards what they're trying to accomplish today. Tomorrow's needs may change, and who knows, you may be out, maybe here again, but you'll have the ability, have that marketing plan and the ability to modify it a little bit to go on to the next time. This presents an opportunity. It's more work if you choose it, but it's an opportunity to change your industry and your role. And that's a separate discussion, but certainly a good one to think about. You've got individual stressors in 2021 we talked about. Some companies are preparing to grow though. And the symptom of that is if a company is looking to hire recruiters, then that means they're planning on hiring more people. And so if that could be a clue to you that might be a place to look. If it fits, differentiation is important. Expect more online visibility as being necessary, and expect that your interaction with the target company is going to be more online or by phone. There'll be video interviews, and even more challenging, there will be technology-based interviews where, and maybe some of you have experienced this, where you're asked to respond to a question on video and submit the video, and you might get 3 tries. Might ask you to do a video essay or a written essay. Some companies are using games to try to determine your characteristics in a more of a playful way. So be ready for anything and be ready for more technology. Make sure you take care of yourself. It's easy in the job search to be totally consumed by it. And it's also with COVID and even without COVID to have other people around you stressed out. So be concerned, tend to them, tend to yourself. And here it's Thanksgiving, so it's a great time to be thankful. Practice your own ability to be thankful. Yesterday I saw a post someone suggested Think about a thing that you're thankful, a different thing that you're thankful for when you wake up in the morning, every day until Thanksgiving. And that will help your attitude. That'll help help your outlook on the world. And between now and Thanksgiving, it's not that far, and you can keep it up afterwards. It's one of those self-help things that's good. Finally, and David alluded to it here, help others. You got to be a little bit forgiving these days because people are stressed out. Other people are stressed out for whatever reason, and it always helps to be kind. Again, that's an easy people skill to develop or to continue to exercise. Being nice never hurts, and it helps somebody else have a better day. Further reading, I'm not going to go through this because we're a little short on time. I've got some books here and articles. The LinkedIn for Personal Branding is a good book. It's recent, and I got it. I've used it in reference to this presentation. The Connector's Advantage by Michelle Phyllis Laderman is also really good for networking. It's everything you ever wanted to know about helping your ability to connect. There are some websites. Career Sherpa, I like Hannah Morgan. You can sign up to get a weekly email. And of course, Alex Freund, hello Alex, his Landing Expert website, which has some good articles on it as well as reference material. I put in the New Jersey Department of Labor for potential resources as well. And there you have it. So are there any final questions for the presentation?
So folks, this is your opportunity. If you have any additional questions of Bill, you can do so right now. And also do remember, we will be hanging around after we formally end the meeting in a few minutes. And Bill, you're certainly welcome to, as you know. So maybe questions will come up then. But any other resources, folks? Or questions? I guess not. One thing I am doing also, because Bill put a tremendous number of resources right at the end of his presentation, the PSG of Mercer County website also has a resources page, and there's several dozen resources that are there. I'm putting that in chat for you so you can click on that as well. So some very good complimentary comments, Bill, so if you want to turn on your chat and watch those as well. Later I will be downloading the chat. I'll post that online. I just posted Bill's slide deck, this very slide deck online for you as well. So if there are any points you need to get back to, if you want to go to those resources, they'll be available right there. And a little later, if not today, then by tomorrow, we'll have the video of this program available as well. And yeah, don't worry, Bill, we'll cut out that one section when you were trying to just share your screen, so no one will ever know that it ever happened, like it never happened. So just take a few minutes to edit that stuff out. But if not, what I really appreciated, not just that you showed or explained the importance of marketing plan and job search. There's certainly a lot of people in their presentations and their topics that just tell you why you should be doing something like that. But Bill also talked about key things to include, key points to address, and how to get started with creating one, and how to get started with using this for job search. So that really becomes important and tells us all why this is an effective presentation. So it's not why to, but it's how to. So Bill, thanks so much. I just think this was incredibly helpful.
Bill, just one quick little question. The first YouTube you recommended, was it assessing your career at any age?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so maybe we'll all be watching that a little bit later. And just to let you know what's coming up over the next week or two, of course, next week is Thanksgiving. And so next Friday, we will not be having a meeting. We will not be meeting here. So I hope that you all celebrate a happy Thanksgiving or a happy Black Friday or Recovery Friday or whatever it is. I was listening to news radio yesterday, and yesterday on the news radio, they announced that for plumbers, Black Friday is the busiest day of the year because so many families get together, households do a lot of cooking, that pipes get clogged, or with all the families visiting, toilets get clogged. So Roto-Rooter and plumbers are very busy on Black Friday as well, so they need a rest. So we will not be meeting next Friday, the 26th. The following Friday, December 3rd, OMG, it's December already. Alex Freund, our good friend Alex Freund, will be back. Can you influence the interviewer? Alex, of course, is a career coach specializing in interviewing. He has done always incredible research in his presentations. When you're speaking with the interviewer, can you influence that person? And of course, there are other groups that will be meeting. The New Jersey Jobseekers will be meeting on Tuesday evening at 7:30. I will put the connection info in our LinkedIn group just a little bit later. It's the same connection info that's been there week after week. So we'll be meeting this Tuesday, 7:30 in the evening. And what's nice about that group is it's just a meeting where we get to talk among ourselves, friends helping friends, or talking about topics of interest. Tomorrow morning, Saturday morning at 8:30, the Career Support Group will be meeting. You can check them out at careersupportgroup.org, careersupportgroup.org. Doug Berger will be presenting the Breakthrough Mindset for Job Search. Doug is always a very insightful presenter, and that will be another terrific program. And do check out the websites of our cousin organizations. PSG of Central New Jersey meets on Mondays at 10:30 a.m. psgcnj.biz, psgcnj.biz, and also PSG of Morris County meets Wednesdays at 9:30 in the morning, psgmc.org, psgmc.org. So that's what's coming for the next week or so. And so, Bill, once again, thanks a lot. Of course, absolutely, I'm very appreciative of your continued being involved with our group and helping support our website the way you do with the job boards page, and also being a presenter for us.
You're welcome.
Yep. And so, folks, until we get to see you either virtually or in person again, I hope you do have a very happy Thanksgiving, a terrific weekend, and I'll simply, until we see you next time, simply say, bye, everybody.